Welcome back to News Talk. Power and money, they collide every 4 years at the intersection of Pennsylvania Avenue and Wall Street. So how can you prepare yourself and your finances for the year's presidential election? Heather Evans, wealth management advisor for Merrill Lynch, is back with some great tips. Hey, Heather, good to see you.
Great to see you, too. How are you?
So what is it about a presidential election year that the markets just don't like?
Well, I think it's more the uncertainty. So markets don't like uncertainty, and this year, more than others, we have a lot of uncertainty in the election.
Yes,
and it's not just the president; it's also Congress. So we've got the congressional elections that come around every 2 years too. So that adds a little more uncertainty to the mix.
Okay, so there's uncertainty not only during presidential election years, but every 2 years?
So we go through this every 2 years.
Oh my gosh.
It's just more extreme every
always
4.
Right? All right, so the general thought that I've heard is that it's better if a Republican gets in the White House because it's better for portfolios. The markets like that more. Is that true?
That's really a myth. It's really, the statistics don't bear it out. If it ever was true, it's not anymore, because you've seen the markets go up with Democrats and you've seen them not necessarily with Republicans. So it really, what the markets like is certainty and continuity, and that's what would help more.
So after the election is over, do the markets generally settle down, no matter whether it's a Democrat or Republican in the White House?
Yeah, Merrill Lynch's recent report said the first year of a new president usually has a positive return. I think the average was about 6%. And it can vary all over the map, and that's no guarantee.
Oh.
So as an individual, we need to look at how does all of this affect me and my portfolio.
Yeah. And as far as an incumbent, there's no incumbent this year, so that's more unsettling.
That adds to the uncertainty. So if you get a 2-term president, then you definitely have a lot of uncertainty because everybody's new to the mix.
Well, this certainly has been one crazy election year. I mean, all the conventions thrown out the window, right? So is this an especially difficult year to sort of determine financial trends?
There are still some pretty key trends that you've seen, like are they going to address corporate taxes? We've got the highest corporate tax rate in the world. What will happen with health care and those costs that I think were just announced that next year at least the government-sponsored health care programs are going to be able to increase their pricing. So things like that are going to really drive the individual.
All right, so let's talk a little bit about particular investment stocks. How have they been performing lately?
Well, we've had volatility, both up and down. What you want to make sure you've done is, have you done anything in your portfolio to protect against the volatility? Are you positioned properly given the individual's risk outlook?
And what kinds of investments would protect you against the ups and downs of the stock market?
Well, the overall asset allocation to begin with, and then instead of reacting to the news, if your portfolio is built towards your goals, your personal goals, not what the politicians' goals are, then you should be more insulated against what's going on around us, the swirling news system.
The whirlwind eddy that's going on. Okay, so we're looking at our own portfolio, and everyone's is different, right? Everybody has different priorities.
Right.
So where do you begin?
Well, we start with, you should sit down with your financial advisor at least once a year. Maybe December or January are good. Those are really good times to be reviewing what you've done and what's going to happen. In December and January, we'll know who's coming in. What's the next president proposing? They're usually very active in those first 100 days, so you'll have an idea of what's coming. So then you want to take a look at what are your goals, and we have 7 pretty much universal life priorities: family, home, work, finances, everything that goes into that, your health, giving, if you're going to give some charitable giving, those are all major priorities that you want to take a look at. And then what are your goals in each one of those? Retirement is a pretty universal goal. So can you meet your retirement goal? If the market goes down, how's that going to impact your goal? Are you prepared for that?
And also, I guess December, the end of the year, it's a good time to maybe look at some of the things in your portfolio that may be underperforming, or maybe you want to rearrange some things.
Yeah, the impact that taxes have. So do you have a lot of capital gains? Can you offset some with losses? And then are taxes going to change next year? Is it better to defer a capital gain until the following year, or move it up because taxes might go up the next year? So those are pretty key.
Good thing to think about. Speaking of taxes, it is tax season, right?
Yes.
Is it too late right now to do anything that could improve our tax situation?
It's not, I mean, for a lot of things that had to happen last year, it's too late, but there are things that you can do now, like you can still make your IRA contribution for last year, and that can be helpful. If you don't qualify for the deduction, at least you've got it in and it will grow towards your retirement. You can also take a look at, are you maximizing your 401k? If you're saving for college, are you using one of the tax-sheltered 529 plans, which can save a tremendous amount of taxes and make it grow?
Yeah, that's very important for people looking ahead to college, right? So when you're looking for that balanced portfolio, how do you balance a portfolio?
Well, it's known as asset allocation. So how much do you have in bonds, how much do you have in stock, and how much do you have in cash? And balancing that out based on where you are in life, how much you have financial stability, and how much risk can you afford, and how much risk can you stand to take. You want to be able to sleep at night. So if it's too much risk for you, you should not be involved in it. And we at Merrill Lynch will give lots of guidance around a very conservative, moderately conservative, moderate, more aggressive portfolios. We can give you the general asset allocations, and then we'll tailor it specifically to the individual.
And hopefully you and your spouse will agree on how much risk to take, right?
That's right.
Because that doesn't always happen, right?
No, it doesn't. And my husband is also in the same field, so we don't always agree.
Wow.
So his 401k will be positioned one way and mine might be another.
Speaking of, all of the expenses that we all have in our daily lives, but then there's the other thing, we have to save. And I mean, savings accounts, it's hard to come up with that money to save, but at the same time, you need a savings account for a new car. You need a savings account for a down payment on a home. You need that college fund. You need your retirement. You need your rainy day fund. I mean, how many savings accounts do we really need?
I don't know that you have to have specific separate accounts for all those things. Yes, for the 529, it's got to be a separate account. IRAs have to be a separate account. But you could have a savings account or an investment account and identify different goals, all being tied to that one account. You don't have to segregate everything into multiple accounts. It would get crazy to try to keep track of them all too.
But one expense like that could blow it out, right? I mean, is there a percentage that you need to have of your income in savings?
We highly recommend that you have 3 to 6 months worth of expenses in liquid savings, so that if you went through a period of unemployment or had some type of crisis, you had access to it. There are other things you can do, like lines of credit, so that you can have access to funds if you had an emergency.
Sounds good. Now, about retirement, if you have a 401k, that's good. You should be contributing to it.
You should be maximizing your contribution if you can.
And find out from your HR department what that number is, right? What if you don't? What do you do? I mean, is it just the IRAs that you take that out on your own? You have to be in charge of it yourself?
Well, if you don't, the IRAs are one way, but if you're self-employed, you wouldn't have a 401k. Then you can set up a self-employed pension plan. They used to call them KEOGs or SEPs. And you can put in similar dollar amounts. It's your own personal, it's not a 401k, but it's your own personal retirement savings. And you can save more than you could in a standard IRA.
Now, you say it's best to talk with your financial advisor at least once a year, best time December, January. What are some of the questions that we definitely should be asking?
How is my portfolio positioned to handle this market volatility? Excuse me. How will a protracted downturn in the market affect my retirement? And that's a key one. And then what should I be doing? How should I be reacting to everyday news events?
Especially in this volatile presidential year.
And I think your advisor is going to tell you to stay calm and don't react to every event, because you don't want to whipsaw your portfolio back and forth. You want to look at what's the long term. Stay focused on the long term.
We're in it for the long term, no matter what happens. We're in it for the ride. Heather Evans with Merrill Lynch Wealth Management. Thanks for coming in today. Always a pleasure to talk to you. And we are back with a program note right after this.